Hello, greetings, how you doing? Make sure you make fun of my scruffy face before anything else. I'm doing a lot of reading and writing. Talking with a lot of people and going over the facts, and there's a 4-point list that just shy of utterly convinces me that that the new so-called XT4 is not going to be an XT4, which would mean it would be the exact same form factor and ergonomics in line with that of the XT3. And I'll go over that briefly. And of course, what we call the camera, whether it be an X-H2 or XT4, is not important, rather the form factor and what it actually is. I've heard from two sources so far that it has an integrated, non-detachable vertical grip, and that, of course, along with the rumor site saying that it's going to be a larger battery, and I've already made the statement that it's going to be a hardcore sports action camera, and Fujifilm has been planning this for years, to be certain. Canon and Nikon do the exact same thing every 4 years. They come out with a master flagship camera for hardcore sports action for the Olympics, and they usually introduce one or two really hardcore telephoto lenses to go along with it. I mean, it's very prestigious, it's great for marketing, on and on and on. By the way, here I actually have the XT1. Of course, this is not an integrated grip, it's a detachable vertical grip. Let's go over the four facts that really convince me that this is not an XT4 at all. Rather, it's going to be the form factor and essentially, you know, the second iteration of the X-H2. By the way, and this is a fact, this is my opinion, Fujifilm has only ever called their X-H2, this camera, their flagship camera. Not the XT1, not the XT2, not the XT3. Not that there's anything wrong with it. So they've never called their XT series their flagship camera. This is Fujifilm's own words, by the way. Like I said, Nikon, same as Canon, only dropped their flagship cameras for the 4-year restart of the Olympics. Second point number 2, the refresh time for the XT3, in other words, the next iteration of the XT3, is way too damn soon. The XT3 is being bought up aplenty. There is nothing lacking, and the video features are incredible on the XT3. The performance, the buffer on the XT3 is incredible. The refresh rate for the XT is just too soon. I know, according to the rumor site, that it's supposedly they're going to announce this next iteration camera. And like I said, the name is not important. The important thing is it has to be this form factor. Obviously, with some alterations here or there. I mean, pure speculation on what those would be, but I mean, ultimately, it has to be this. It can't be, you know, the next iteration of the XT3, i.e. an XT series follow-up, i.e. an XT4. Only the X-H2 frame and chassis is, I know they're working on, and it's been mentioned many places, that they're working on slimming down the IBIS mech for the integration of IBIS and Fujifilm cameras. But really only the X-H2 frame and chassis is perfect, not only for the IBIS mech, but also to the unibody nature of what is going to be. And I think it's going to be an X-H2. Who gives a damn what name they're going to call it? But I mean, only this actually fits the profile of an integrated, just like a Nikon D3, D4, D5, where you actually have a much larger battery, and the actual vertical grip is, of course, integrated into the chassis body construction of the entire camera itself. In other words, it's not detachable like it is here on the X-H2. And only this actually follows that for that. Also, too, the hardcore sports action cameras of Nikon and Canon also follow the integrated vertical grip paradigm, so it actually makes perfect sense that that's exactly what the hell Fujifilm is doing. I know they've probably been working and thinking and having it on the drawing board and whatnot for at least a couple years, who knows how much longer. It's like, hey, the Olympics are coming in 2020. In Japan, by the way. Wink, wink, nod, nod, wink, wink, wink. In Japan, hello, perfect crosshairs for Fujifilm to come out with a hardcore, hey, the Olympics coming up, they're going to be in Japan, hello. Yeah, that's where Fujifilm, of course Nikon as well, are located at, so perfect. Also, too, point number 4, Fujifilm has played their hand when they actually shut down production. They mostly shut down production. It's a fact that the Fujifilm facilities in Japan, of course, they have facilities in China and whatnot, but Fujifilm would never, same as Nikon, same as Canon, would never, ever, nor have they built their flagship camera outside of Japan. It's a matter of pure prestige, blah, 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 blah. They've always been made in Japan. The X-H2, or whatever they're going to call it, with this form factor, to what extent it's changed, I don't know, has to be made in Japan. It absolutely has to be. Fujifilm, once again, has never made, or excuse me, called any camera, their XT series camera, or XH series, the only thing they called flagship camera was the XH1. But Fujifilm played their hand when they shut down the XH1 production in Japan because it was selling hot as hell. I know they're still making them apparently on the side, in small numbers, but Fujifilm Japan plant is relatively small. This is by their own admission and the knowledge of others. The reason why they stopped XH1 production is they are currently making the follow-up to this, the XH1, i.e. the X8. Who knows what they're going to call it, but it has to be this form factor. So these 4 points, it's going to be made in Japan. It's going to have this form factor. It's going to be IBIS. Only this form factor allows for easy integration of a much larger grip, a much larger grip. Well, actually, the ergonomic integration of the IBIS mech along with a larger grip to accommodate also to a larger battery. You could actually take, these existing batteries and replace it with the same sort of battery that the Nikon D5, the EN-EL18B batteries. It doesn't have to be that large, but this tray in a different type of form integrated into the chassis would actually much larger opening, so they could actually have a slide-in battery. That combined with a better main board and a buffer means that Fujifilm could make a hardcore, really hardcore, kick-ass, nearly bottomless buffer. I'm just shy of 100% that that's exactly what the hell Fujifilm is. These 4 points that I made are, they are irrefutable. Here's another thing. People could say, well, maybe Fujifilm is merging the XH series and the XT series, but this is actually extremely unlikely. Companies do not commit suicide or hara-kiri on their own product line. That's when, like, HP bought out Compaq. HP didn't kill Compaq because that was shelf space. The shelf space of the XH series and the XT series have to remain independent. So there's just not a chance in hell that the XT3 and the XH series are melding or meshing into one entity. There's just really not a snowflake's chance in hell. It's a bad marketing idea. Any company with half a brain has never done that in the past on their major product lines. So Fujifilm will be dropping their second only after this one, what they call, in their own words, Fujifilm's words, not mine, flagship camera. Fujifilm in the past, these camera companies in a way imitate each other on certain little levels. Not saying Fujifilm is imitating anybody, God forbid they imitate, some of the failures of Canon and or Nikon. But on the level of the Olympics in Japan, you got a once in every 4-year window. When's the next time the Olympics are going to be in Japan? What, 30 years from now? 50 years from now? Who knows? This is their chance to shine, like Fujifilm. And they also, too, just the same as Nikon and Canon, will have to come out with some. They've already got the 200mm f2, which I have. That big honking $6,000 lens. I have that lens. They have to do, I think it's going to be, this is pure speculation, it has to be something like a 500mm f4, which would be relatively small. But I mean, that I know there's just not a snowflake's chance in hell that Fujifilm is also not, when they announce the X-H2, or whatever the hell they're going to call it, with this basic form factor, there's no chance in hell that they are not also, at that time, going to say, we've also got a mystery lens, and they'll leave it for very close to the Olympics. They may break it at the same time, info-wise, but it has to be something like a 500mm f4 or 500mm f5.6 face Fresnel. Fresnel lens integration for lenses is actually quite complicated, really pricey, and a real pain in the ass. Both Canon and Nikon themselves actually piss and moan about it a lot because there's a high failure rate, and it's just a real pain in the ass to do Fresnel lenses. So I don't know if it would be that, but has to be something like a 500mm f4. There's no way it's a 600mm, but it would have to be a huge honking prime lens. There could also be a very fast zoom lens, something along the order of, well, actually it could be like a 300mm f4 or f5.6, like, or a 300mm 5.6 to 500. You could actually make a 300 roughly to 500mm 5.6, and it wouldn't be that damn big, and it would be really awesome with the next iteration of this camera as an Olympics camera. But, you know, I'm not a betting man, but based upon these 4 facts and a few others, this is what Fujifilm is doing. I know it is. They are. As far as all the facts and the little details, those will all be fleshed out, obviously, within the next month and a half. But yeah, the refresh for the XT3 is too soon, and there's no chance in hell that they are merging the XT series and the X-H series together. No chance in hell of that. There's just not. That's market suicide when you take 2 of your best lines and you merge them into one. Very, very dumb idea. It's like putting all your eggs in one basket marketing-wise. It's very dumb. Fujifilm's not going to be doing that. People have actually speculated on saying stuff like that to me in the past, and I know that's not going to happen. But this is also the reason why Fujifilm basically shut down their X-H2 production. Essentially so. Not entirely, but essentially so. They did play their hand on that one. And that is the reason why. I know that for a fact. I damn well know it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Pardon my scruffy face, but I've been doing a lot of studying and writing. And, yeah, it's going to kind of look like this with an integrated grip. And it'll be really freaking fast with a huge honking battery. And it'll have IBIS in there. Oh, wait for it. Oh, wait for it. Oh, wait for it. Fuji!